Okay, everyone. Well, thank you. Welcome. Thank you for all of our patient attendees. Thank you and welcome to NAVE's first virtual event, Voices from the Field. This is the first in a series of virtual events that NAVE is planning for the upcoming months, and I am so excited that there's so many of you joining out there today. I'm Sandra Medrano Arroyo. I'll be your moderator today as we speak with representatives from 3 urban districts. Before we begin, we have a special welcome from 2 NAVE representatives, Nilda Aguirre, Deputy Executive Director, and Dr. Margarita Pincos, Past President and Coordinator of Professional Development.
Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to NAVE's live webinar, Voices from the Field. Thank you, Sandra, for coordinating this live webinar, and to our panelists, Lisa Capra, Mirna Rasmussen, Jose Larrea Garcia, Judy Saudi. We're looking forward to learning and sharing with our panelists today. Thank you so much.
I'm not sure if Dr. Pincos was able to join us. I know she had a scheduling conflict. All right, so if she shows up, somebody please let me know. I'm more than happy to introduce her, but I'm going to take a moment and introduce our panelists now. We're going to start with Judith Saudi, principal in Chicago Public Schools. Judith serves as principal of Richard Edwards Dual Language Fine and Performing Arts International Baccalaureate School since 2005. Her school serves over 1,550 students. 95% of them are Latino heritage. During the 25 years that Judy has served in Chicago Public Schools, she's worn many hats: bilingual teacher, assistant principal, after-school coordinator, curriculum design team member, ESL resource teacher, bilingual lead teacher, presenter and staff development liaison, dean of students, disciplinary and programmer, schedule coordinator, parent coordinator, and grant writer, just to name a few. So welcome and thank you, Judy.
Thank you. Gracias.
Next, we have Mirna Rosado Rasmussen, bilingual ESL district coordinator for San Antonio Independent School District. Mirna is a 26-year veteran administrator in the area of bilingual education. She's presently pursuing a doctoral degree in bilingual studies at the University of Texas, RGV. As an educational leader and advocate, she strives to promote best practices in bilingual education programs to meet the needs of all students through professional development. Welcome and thank you, Mirna.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me.
We also have with us Lisa Capra, dual language program planner in Palm Beach County School District in Florida. Lisa celebrates her 30th year in public education with the past 19, working specifically to better meet the needs of second language learners through the immersion program. As dual language program planner, Lisa has effectively supported administrators, teachers, parents, and students in dual language programs she oversees, and has shared this knowledge on a national level through conferences, webinars, and statewide conference calls. Welcome and thank you, Lisa.
Oh, thank you for inviting me today.
And last but certainly not least, Jose Andres Larrea Garcia, also from Palm Beach County Schools, who serves as the dual language instructional specialist. Jose has been an advocate for bilingualism and bilingual education for almost 2 decades. His experiences, first as a teacher and later on as a professional developer, which focused on second language acquisition, have opened opportunities for him to participate as a speaker in conferences at the local and national level. In his role, he's influenced teachers and administrators locally, as well as across the nation, in shaping their understanding of bilingualism. Welcome and thank you, Jose.
Un placer. Thank you very much.
Thank you. This has been a challenging time for all of us as we quickly shifted gears and redirected our focus and energy on accommodating the needs of students in an online environment. We'll spend the next hour listening to our panelists share how their districts dealt with distance learning, and more importantly, what lessons they've learned during this time. So let's get started with Mirna. Mirna, as district coordinator, we know that during this crisis, learning loss has most greatly impacted vulnerable student populations such as our English learners. As we look ahead to the reopening of schools, what action steps can be put in place at the district level to mitigate the learning loss and give ELs the support they need?
Yes, mitigating learning loss became a major concern for our district from the moment school closure became a possibility. Then our team in the bilingual department immediately began working to preemptively mitigate learning loss through a collaborative effort to quickly transition from an online platform where teachers could be meeting with their students virtually and in digital classrooms. We also collaborated to construct a digital learning playground where students from pre-K through 12 could begin working on asynchronous activities in English and in Spanish from home. That allowed the teachers to deliver powerful instruction and for students to meet the educational goals on an online environment as an increased measure to mitigate learning loss as we move forward. Our district decided to extend the opportunities for students through the summer with something called Jump Start program. Teachers have been working with students how to get familiarized with all the lessons, completing the activities with weekly modules available in English and in Spanish with synchronous activities with teachers. So we will continue that program during the month of July. And then we will be assessing students during the 2021 year to make informed decisions based on pedagogy and curriculum when students return in the fall. For now, however, we have been preparing for the possibility of implementing a blended learning model when students return in the fall. And we will probably include like classroom instruction in smaller groups and virtual groups in other rooms. We're continuing to receive feedback from parents, emails, phone calls, and we do have a virtual advisory parent meetings because this is such a new situation for everybody. It's very important to get the feedback from parents. We go back to discuss the history of bilingual education and why it's important for everyone to advocate at their campuses with the goal to create leaders with parents at their campuses. This pandemic has affected everyone differently, and only parents can tell us for sure the roadblocks we will be facing for our own student population. So if we address these issues as a district, we will increase learning and make up time that we lost, and we'll be ready for the fall.
Those are all great suggestions, Minna. Thank you. And as difficult as this spring has been, the upcoming school year could be our toughest ever. The one thing all of our panelists have in common is the need to invest in their teachers. Judy, in a prior conversation, you mentioned you have the benefit of being the principal of a one-to-one school, which is not the case for many of the schools nationwide. What type of professional development do you wish you would have provided your teachers, students, and or parents prior to distance learning becoming our new reality? What suggestions might you have for principals and administrators that are looking at reorganizing their distance learning approach?
Good afternoon. We are a one-on-one school, and with professional development to set us up for this, I would have recommended us doing Google Classroom certification or Google certification. We went through Nearpod, and teachers learned how to prepare lessons, but we never thought that we had to utilize it at this degree, and we weren't ready. even being a one-on-one school, I mean, teachers already were communicating, but it was at the homework level. So they had students doing Google Classroom. We had Remind with parents. We had Dojo. We had platforms that helped us a lot. So we also have programs, software. We're lucky to have the softwares like Imagine Learning that the kids were already doing at school and at home. So now it has helped us with that. We have Achieve 3000, and we also call partners to help us with our needs. So it was really, really hard. And for us, first, we started doing packets, physical packets, because that was our instructions. Then when it was more serious, I said, oh no, now that the kids are gone, now we have to do more with Google Classroom and with Zoom and with our Hangouts. So then we had to distribute the devices. So we have given out already around 900 devices between Chromebooks and iPads. And it has been even challenging for parents because they don't have Wi-Fi. So doing that, we also have been distributing food. We have given out in one day, we have given out more than 4,000 meals a day. So we do it from Monday through Friday in the lunchroom, and everybody is afraid because of the precautions and all the safety issues that we have to take in place. Also, now we have time to meet, so the teachers are meeting.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I'm
Yeah,
gonna ask you
so
for- specifically on parents, have you given any professional development for parents? Was that part of the plan?
so we already had, every month every week we have a parent meeting. So now our parents were eager to meet, and some of our families have COVID, and they were eager to have some support. So we have had meetings. We had one last week with one of our speakers, Ferney Ramirez, and he was talking about how to cope, how to maintain sanity during this time. As a parent, how well they're doing their job. So, giving them some positive feedback. And some of my teachers are parents here, so they were also part of the meeting. So this was our Bilingual Advisory Committee that met, and he was able to deliver that. Also, we've been doing robocalls, so I let the parents know, go to our website, under students, go to homework classroom, and under that link, look for your teacher, and that's where you're going to find their work, So getting that message, also combining the teachers to be able to put everything under that link. I mean, that's been another, so we quickly, we had our ILT, which is our instructional leadership team, get together. We have one teacher per each grade, so we have 15 people on that committee, and they meet weekly with the teachers. So that's when we have our professional learning team. So we meet at least once a week, which was challenging because with Zoom, we only had the 100 guests, and I have over 100 teachers and paraprofessionals. So I had to up to get the 500 license because we would have, it would kick us out, So even trying to deal with that. Professional development has been, I think I said the limonadas, it has been the only benefit that we've had, that now we have time to do the professional development. So we've had Dr. Jose Medina with us already 5 times, different PDs with him, a lot of fun. And now was a time for us to go to NAVE. NAVE micro-credentials, we're doing that right now. I bought it for the whole school, so we can be a whole badge school. So we already, all of my ILT has already done module for the first one, which now is a big eye opener. Now they say, wow, now our vision and mission is going to get together. And I think that's going to help us now to do better programming. So that's what we're doing right now with NABE, our micro-credentials. And then after the ILT has already done the first one, we agreed And I want to thank everybody that's been working with this. Module's fantastic. So now we're going to roll it out. Tomorrow I have a faculty meeting. We're going to roll out module 1 to explain it to them, so then they can also learn and be able to have that elevator speech about what is bilingualism, what is by culture, what is by literacy, and know our 3 goals for dual language. So, you know, that has been the only blessing I see out of all of this. Thank you.
Good, thank you. Those are all great ideas, Judy. Thank you. Each of those suggestions have the possibility of becoming quite successful, but success can be defined in many ways. How do you each define success during this time? What guidelines were put in place that defines success during distance learning? What could you replicate as we move forward, and what resources need to be in place to replicate that success? Let's begin with Mirna and then hear from Lisa, please.
Yes. During these times, we had to change how we define everything, including success, right? So traditionally, we look at our district goals, such as how well students are performing academically to measure our success. Now that standardized tests in Texas have been canceled and grading standards had been completely changed, we had started to define success as how well we're meeting the needs of our students and families. In regards to the guidelines that we put in place, the digital learning plan was created from input from departments across the district, collaborating with content areas, special classes, and we created lessons all in English and in Spanish to make sure that language was not a barrier for the bilingual families. Guidelines given to teachers regarding student work ensured that students are given ample time to complete online activities, tasks that are simple and engaging and with clear expectations. And we provide several opportunities for continuous feedback. That what we have literally entered families' homes. We're focusing on meaningful and culturally responsive activities to engage families with lessons that can be completed, for example, in the backyard of their homes, right? Collaboration. Replicating success and moving forward. Well, we were able to create success with students and families as we move forward, and digital learning becomes more regularly integrated in curriculum. Our digital learning framework uses activities to teach students how to communicate and collaborate with respect, be aware of privacy and online safety, and evaluate resources periodically. So these are skills that we're gonna carry over to the traditional education setting. And we also created a digital dual language model to serve as a framework to help everyone online. So we're incorporating everything into the planning and implementation of the online instruction to help ensure that Spanish is not lost during the transition to the online learning.
Yes, I can't agree with you more, Muna. Those are huge successes. Here in Palm Beach County, we were definitely defining success by making sure that all of our students have access to internet devices, to internet and devices to the best of our abilities. With 172,000 plus students, that was high priority for us and quite a success with working with our internet providers and our communities to make sure that children had access to devices from our schools and internet. With organizing, another success I feel was huge was the fact that we were able to organize over 13,000 teachers to a virtual platform. extremely quickly so that there was no loss of learning. creating lessons, like Mirna said too. We created lessons and recorded presentations for teachers to access, for students to access, for parents to access via our district instructional platform. And we also moved to the Educational Technology TV, also for those families that were just not able to access the internet or have a device. So we made sure that that our kids could access that learning through the television also. And then again, training teachers, rolling out a platform across an entire large urban school district was a huge success for us to actually get that off the ground and get it moving. And something for us to continue to think about replicating as we move into the future is to continue to have this flexible structure for our virtual learning, because not every household looks the same and works the same. So we need to be very cognizant of that, and keeping, of course, social emotional learning in the forefront, because this is a very difficult situation for adults as well as children. So everybody needs to be conscious of that. And one of the bigger things too was helping teachers, educating and enhancing virtual learning for teachers to make sure that it continues to remain interactive and grows. And I think that we need to continue to look towards this virtual learning and making sure it remains interactive for teachers and students and families. So that's really important for us here in Palm Beach County as we move forward.
Lisa, you mentioned keeping lessons interactive. So I'd like to pose this next question to Jose. In your role as district dual language specialist, you had to ensure that lessons were instructionally sound yet culturally relevant. What types of online activities were created to keep students engaged and promote family engagement? And what would you recommend districts do differently?
Thank you, Sandra. Thank you, everybody. Well, first, I want to say that it's not easy to teach in a physical classroom one day and turn it into a virtual classroom the next one. It's not that easy. I have definitely learned during this time that designing effective distance learning requires planning and targeted professional development, but not only for students or for teachers, but for the whole family as well. Those would be my two major recommendations. Teachers who did not expect to teach online were caught unprepared. So at the district level, we have been supporting this challenge by creating content, as Lisa said. We created lessons that were also recorded so teachers could either include those in their Google Classrooms, but at the same time, those lessons were being broadcasted on TV through the YouTube district channel. In my case, I was responsible for creating virtual Spanish language arts lessons. And for this task, I prepared virtual read-alouds, shared readings, and guided reading lessons and activities, as well as specific skill lessons, as Mirna mentioned, authentic to the Spanish language. This virtual environment and a plethora of digital resources made available to our district free of charge during this current pandemic situation gave me the opportunity and flexibility to look for and use authentic cultural text and open resources from all around our Hispanic countries. I was able to incorporate things that tongue twisters, songs, trabalenguas, adivinanzas, food recipes, riddles, refranes, or sayings, and even take students on virtual cultural walking tours to discover our beautiful countries while maintaining student motivation and parent engagement uplifting. Basically, I was able to teach standards in a much more creative and engaging way, not only pedagogically, but also linguistically and culturally. I have also found during this time that some teachers and school administrators are still trying to replicate what they do in a classroom with what they are doing online.
Mm.
It is important to shift that way of thinking and continue to adapt. We all need to realize that we are not the host of the education feast anymore. We basically moved 2 months ago from one school building to thousands and thousands of micro schools placed in the households of our communities. We have gone from one set of school rules to thousands of them, from one school cafeteria menu to thousands of culturally and diverse kitchens with many, many aromas, flavors, and languages written and spoken in each of those thousands and thousands of cooking recipes. We are now guests in this new environment of micro schooling. And we definitely need to wrap our heads about this new concept and this new reality. I understand this adaptation is not easy, but I would like to share one of the best practices that I have experienced during this time regarding that change of mindset. While I was invited to visit one of our district Google classrooms, I've noticed that one of the most experienced teachers at that school, but with very limited technology skills, was co-teaching virtually with a first-year teacher. They both voluntarily decided to join efforts and strengths. The experienced teacher was leading the classroom with awesome instructional ideas and strategies. And then the new teacher was transferring all those ideas into a virtual environment using all kinds of technology tools. It was awesome to see that, and it's a recommendation I would like to put on the table today. And lastly, and once again, I want to advocate for our teachers, students, and families on giving them the tools and training they need to adjust to the new reality of their jobs. Ultimately, you can have all the tech in the world, but really great learning is a human endeavor. It's about the teacher and student relationships. And thank you very much. And muchísimas gracias.
Thank you, Jose. I love the emphasis you made on bringing together technology and culture, making lessons come alive and be truly relatable. Let's talk a little bit about an even more difficult task within dual language. Lisa, as district program planner, English language learners always had significant challenges accessing educational opportunities, but the goal of a dual language program is to level that playing field. As the district program planner for dual language, what are some strategies you use during this time of distance learning to provide support to emergent bilinguals in a dual language program? How did you ensure access to the program language?
Oh, well, thank you, Sandra. Good question. ELLs, you're right, have always had a significant challenge accessing educational opportunities. And in Palm Beach County, we really feel that our two-way immersion programs level that field. Our programs are based in half native Spanish speakers, half native English speakers. And even when we are in our classrooms, in our schools, ensuring access to program language is always in the forefront of our minds. Our distance learning started towards the end of March, like most districts, and by this time, most of the standards had been taught. So this was a good point to move into virtual learning into this environment so that we could now use this time to review standards. Keeping in mind, we still needed to make sure that all the best second language acquisition strategies were being incorporated into our lessons so that learners could continue to access content. So as a large urban school district, we were tasked with creating, like other districts, English language arts and Spanish language arts lessons. These recorded lessons lived on our distance learning portal for teachers and students and families to access. And like I said before, that we were also broadcasting these on television networks. So schools and, families could access that learning if they did not have internet access. So the lessons that were written used, like I said, the strategies for second language acquisition. As you know, in a two-way immersion program, everyone is a second language learner at some point of the day. So these strategies are of the utmost importance. These virtual lessons that had to take that into consideration, both in English and in Spanish. So to support our students with the acquisition and maintenance of their languages. We made sure that the virtual lessons included strategies such as sentence frames, word banks that were visually rich, to say the least. They had many animations, and we also took into account wait time inside these pre-recorded lessons so that children could actually think through and interact with what they were listening to. We incorporated a little bit of everything we thought students were going to need during this time to review grammar, word work, read alouds, writing, and of course we incorporated a lot of love because, like I said before, this is a very emotional time for everyone. So we needed to make sure that we were addressing that emotional connection also. Many of our dual language teachers became virtual experts, building Google classrooms together so that they could coordinate instruction and meet the needs of their students in whole group as well as in small groups. We realized quickly that to meet the needs of all learners, we needed to be a culture of collaboration. So the name of the game is this new virtual reality is flexibility. The school day is no longer from 8 to 3. We have teachers who are meeting with small groups of children after 5 p.m. because that's when their parent gets home, that's when the device turns on, that's when they're able to access their learning. So our teachers have really stepped up and embraced this virtual reality we're living in. So when teachers were physically in their classrooms, one of the biggest pushes, as everyone knows, is to make learning relevant. So what better way now than to link that bricks and mortar learning to real life activities? And Myrna had mentioned that earlier also, to make learning come alive through reviewing standards, through cooking, baking, building gardens, actually looking at the parts of an insect by collecting insects, measuring an area of a room because you need to move the furniture around and is it going to fit the way the measurements are supposed to. Taking all of that learning from school and connecting it to everyday life is what we tried to do here. A great example of this was one of our kindergarten Spanish teachers who shared a video she put together of her kids. The assignment was to review the parts of a plant, and she had her students labeling actual trees in their backyard, like Mina had said earlier, in their front yard, in their houseplants, and actually brought that whole process of learning parts of a plant to life. And then she had parents snapping pictures of their children labeling these plants outside and in their house, and building diagrams out of seeds and macaroni and spaghetti and all of those things to be able to prove their learning, going back to assessment, okay? Being able to prove the evidence of them using what they're learning in real life. So that became an amazing thing for us to be able to see that learning, and then parents submitting these photos to the teacher as evidence of learning that's happening. You know, I read the other day and truly believe that all of America's languages are part of a national identity and have a unique meaning and value for all of us. With that being said, we must continue to honor what students bring with them to our classrooms, whether our classrooms are virtual or not. Honoring and valuing language and culture helps us better connect as human beings, as Jose had said earlier. I truly believe that virtual learning will remain a reality in one way or another in our future. So we need to accept this, we need to seize the moment, and we need to continue to be educational innovators.
Thank you, Lisa. You've all made mention of flexibility being the name of the game right now, taking place mostly in varied home environments, yet our educational system has always been quite rigid. Let's take a few minutes to discuss how our roles might shift to become change agents.
You know what? I wanted to state that I agree with Jose. Teachers are now looking at collaboration. So it's not only being flexible, but now collaborating. We have seasoned teachers that now are using these resources and new tools in a different way. ways that they did not expect. So now we had teachers, oh, if you don't know how to put assignments on the link. So we had one teacher, he did his own hangout and he was teaching them how to do this. We had another teacher, oh, I'm going to help with, you know, the Nearpod. And so we had teachers volunteering and helping one another. So they've been sharing not only with teachers, but now with parents, because not only that meeting that we had last week, we've been having what we call in Chicago local school councils. Because like I am retiring, they are parents in Chicago, so like the principal. So they had to meet every week on Zoom to be able to interview candidates, to be able to, so the parents were struggling. Sometimes they would meet in one house, two parents, you know, and try to use one computer. Sometimes they were not able to get on the computer. I mean, there has been a lot of challenges. So now the teachers have a different role. Now they're also helping the parents learn how to use, you know, Wi-Fi, how to use all these resources, and then how to become better teachers to their kids. So now, like Lisa was saying, some teachers meeting after hours. We had parent-teacher conference in the middle of this. So all the teachers had to at least speak with the parents. So we, what we did is we paired a paraprofessional with the teacher, and they were calling and they were using Google Chat. So that way their numbers were not, some of them were looking for ways that they could communicate with parents. So, and sometimes we just, when we communicate with the parents, they just want to vent out, because if we're all under this stress, I think the parents are even worse. And now they're appreciating, which is great, appreciating everything that the teachers did. You know, now they knew why. Oh, no wonder that teacher was talking about this or this, you know, or she wasn't. So, you know, that communication with parents has been stronger. The collaboration with teachers. I mean, we were a school that all of our teachers, classroom teachers, we have around 60 classroom teachers, and they were a strong group, and they are a strong group. But now I see how they have been more compassionate, how they're, you know, having their own little meetings also, you know, they meet after the meetings, and how the teachers have come together to not only help the students, but also help the parents.
And you spoke a little bit, I was making reference to the fact of us becoming change agents and the roles that we play. You've spoken a little bit about just empowering our communities, to empower our community by giving them the information, and then developing them just as we develop and build capacity within our instructional staff. So I'm going to jump to Jose to also see if he can share with us a little bit about the role that he plays at a district level and addressing that systemic inequity in a way that empowers communities as we move forward.
Thank you, Sandra, and thank you, Judy. I mean, I love listening to what you just said. I will love to take this opportunity now to bring up a different perspective while answering this question. I will start making some kind of an analogy here. As I mentioned before, right now, we should not be hosting education the same way we were doing before March 12th. We are now educational guests, or let's call it facilitators, to millions and millions of micro schools around the country. Each of these households should be considered a micro school with a defined structure of rules and needs. In our economic systems around the world, we have economy very well defined. We have macroeconomics dealing with the performance, the structure, behavior, and decision-making of an economy as a whole. And then we have microeconomics that studies the behavior of individuals in making decisions regarding the allocation of resources and the interactions among those individuals. But how about education? Well, I believe, Jose believes, that we have been doing a great job until now developing the macro education concept by making decisions pertaining to a district as a whole. But how about micro education? How about this new reality of millions and millions of micro schools in which our districts around the country have been divided into? If we want to pursue equity, and as part of my role as a member of the multicultural department for my district, I have to advocate. I need and I have to advocate to develop this concept of education in this new reality. We need to empower and give voice to our communities now more than ever, as all of you said before. We have to work hand in hand with the small businesses and minority leaders and organizations who are the microeconomic leaders and gurus in our cities and neighborhoods. They can definitely guide us on how to be successful while developing this new concept of micro schooling around the country. Examples of this guidance effort, it could be learning, I don't know, basic recommendations regarding the allocation of resources for families during distance learning, or advice on effective ways of communication systems and technologies. So all those millions of micro schools can interact between each other, so students and parents can have a strong voice while leading education in this new reality. Thank you, guys.
Those are all excellent points. Thank you, Jose. As we look ahead to data-driven and intentional policy decision to create change in our educational system, how can we best target the needs of our ELs and facilitate student voice through a distance learning environment? I'd like to hear first from Mirna, then Judy, Lisa, and Jose. Judy, Mirna. Thank you.
Okay.
And I'm the first one that said we needed to remind. Okay. So sorry about that.
That is okay.
When I hear the word change, I think of everyone, todos. That includes our teachers, right? Because they're a main component in creating an inclusive environment for English learners, as they will model and teach them how to advocate for themselves. So I think it is important to prepare our teachers to understand the specific factors of certain cultures so they can adapt classroom instruction and embrace the differences as we are moving forward. So in the process of teaching our students to advocate for themselves, we must build on the lessons that they're learning through the digital citizenship, so they can return the information of working together, increasing respect, developing trust and collaboration, and incorporating the critical thinking skills. Because if we accept each other's in general and continue teaching that way, it will be more likely that the students will be advocating for themselves if they feel that their educational and social emotional needs are met.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Judy, would you like to add anything to that?
I was going to say that I agree with Mirna. Now is the time for advocating. Like I said, teachers are now our new heroes, and we want to advocate for them, because this is really challenging times, and as also advocacy for our students. And I think we could now have that opportunity, because even yesterday when I was having conversation with some of my teachers, they were saying that some of the shy students were now using this, and they were talking, and they were using technology and the Google Classroom to be able to participate, which we didn't have that before. So I think positively this is also affecting our kids, and this is a good time also that now that we have their attention, now that we are using things that we should have been using before, like videos and songs, and that students now are are happy to have this because they wanted to use technology all the time. I mean, I want to see a world where we can have the kids in the classroom using their phones all the time, and that, you know, that we take them away and you can't use it. But, you know, if the kids learn to use it positively, and the teachers, I think that's going to be their new role. You know, one of their new roles is to teach them, you know, you have to be responsible when you're using the media, you know, and I still feel the frustration from parents. We have parents that are saying, nope, I'm not going to use technology. So we still have teachers coming in and doing packets for them and doing physical homework for them because, you know, they do not want to use the technology. And we have parents that come from parents that are not literate to parents that are professors, or we have, you know, teachers and so are highly educated. So, you know, looking for that, I think, is something that we have to encourage. And I know that Sandra, I know how you and Nilda are working on this, but we want to thank you and get in those voices, the voices of the teachers that now I think are our new heroes, and also our parents, to see how are they frustrated, and also our students, to see what is their take on this. How do they feel with the social emotional also, but also how do they enhance now and have their education enriched now that we are using this. And mostly now that Jose was saying our equity, our kids, the one that were not able to reach, I think now is the time that, you know, there's a lot of students in our system that don't have the computers. I have teachers that are telling me, oh, they only gave one computer per family. So, you know, being advocates for these students, I think, is a new role that the teachers are also, and we are taking upon ourselves. So thank you, Nabi, for this opportunity.
Absolutely. Thank you. Thank you, panelists. One of the actions that NAVE took early on in an effort to support educators while we all transitioned into this new way of educating was to create a new Facebook group for teachers, parents, and students to ask questions and explore some suggestions. Most recently, one of our NAVE Facebook members has asked for suggestions on organizing online summer camps for kids. Principal and district coordinator, can you tell us a little bit about your planning steps? We understand that this is in the baby steps of planning, but the activities the students might be involved in, how long you'd be hosting each class, how many days a week, what are your thoughts? Judy, if you could just please start us off, and then we'll hear from Mirna.
So we have a partner, which is YMCA, and they are preparing for our summer. They're preparing also some lessons that have to do with sports and exercises at home, and because everything will be virtual. I mean, and then now we just got notice that we're going to also have those children that are not doing well, that they also will have an opportunity to have summer school. So we're going to see how this is going to roll out, but it has to be all virtual. So now trying also to incorporate, I was having conversation with our social workers and our counselors to see how can we also incorporate meditation in our lessons? How can we incorporate health? How can we incorporate, you know, activities with PE activities, you know, physical education, and to see, you know, that's part of that we would never think of, that teachers wouldn't think of. Now that's something that they're going to have to incorporate for their own self-care and also for our children and their families.
Thank you. Mirna, would you like to share some of your plans?
Yes, ma'am. So Judy, we do have already a digital platform that includes PE activities and fine arts. So, and it's open nationwide. So I can share the link with everybody so you can go and visit it. And yes, we do have kind of like preliminary plans to begin something similar, but towards the month of July, closer to the beginning of the school year. And it's going to be a blending of face-to-face. Of course, we have to keep social distance, and but we are integrating a lot of technology activities like we have been doing. And we did, I think I mentioned it before, distributed like 30,000 Chromebooks and hotspots. So we are trying to ensure that we are helping those families that do not have internet access. We collaborated with the city of San Antonio, and we have some like the Alamo Dome where you can go to the parking lot and have free Wi-Fi. So we are in communication with the city and trying to create a program. It may be a short one, couple of weeks, but something that can help them with that transition.
I would appreciate that if she can share, and that's great for us.
Yes.
That's perfect.
That's the magic of this. We all helping our English learners. So regardless where we are, right?
I love it. Common goal.
Yes.
As we're going to start tying things up a little bit here, Lisa, was anything else you'd like to add to any of the comments? Does not have to be in regards to the last question.
Well, I actually wanted to piggyback on what Myrna and Judith had said about the time for advocacy. It's also the time for innovation. We have the opportunity to invent virtual learning, what it is and what it should look like. And the educational world is at a crossroads, I feel right now, that we have the opportunity to take what we know is good and relevant teaching and look at it through a new lens. I really feel that we need to rethink how we've been doing this in the past. It's a new game, new rules. So I think it's time for some innovation.
Thank you. Oscar?
Okay, so if I have to say, you ask me, okay, your closing remarks, definitely I would have to say that we have right now, thank God, in front of us, a wonderful opportunity to serve everybody, but our English language learners, to make education more inclusive. And to do that, we have to embrace not only our educational leaders, policymakers, but empower and give voice to our communities, joining efforts with them to advocate loud and strong about the imperative need, and I think that you guys mentioned this before, to redesign our assessment systems. So we move from a standardized test to a more holistic measurement tied to life improvements and societal impact. Thank you. Yeah.
Perfect. Thank you. I'm going to make sure to post some of these great ideas and suggestions on Facebook. I'd like to take a moment. I did introduce Dr. Margarita Pincos in the beginning due to a scheduling conflict. She joined us a couple minutes afterwards, and I didn't want to interrupt the great information coming from our panelists. So I'd like to ask Dr. Pincos if she could please just give us some closing remarks.
No, I just want to say thank you. Great conversation. And, in NAVE, we listen to our community. And our community has been saying for a long time that they needed to hear from us. They needed to have targeted professional development, that they needed to, that we couldn't be just a one conference a year. And because of our community, we had already created a structure to be able to reach out to you, our members. So this has made it very easy to continue that conversation. So I want to thank all of you that are in this meeting, and encourage to continue to give us information on what it is that you want from NAVE and what are your needs, so that we can continue to meet the needs of our community. So thank you very much. And thank you to the panelists and to the great moderator.
Thank you.
It was a pleasure. Thank you.
The panelists were great.
Thank you.
So as we wrap up this hour of sharing and learning, I'd like to thank our panelists again for being so candid and informative. I'd like to thank the almost 500 viewers we had today. We were also on Facebook Live, which was quite exciting. And as I mentioned earlier, this is one of a series of virtual events NAVE will be hosting. Future events will allow us to hear from teachers, BESO students, and parents. Another upcoming event includes a virtual institute in July, which will showcase experts in the field of dual language. Look for information via NAVE's e-news, Facebook, and Twitter. I had reached out to the panelists in the chat room, but I encourage everyone to please post any comments or feedback regarding this event or questions you'd like us to pose to future panelists on these sites. I'm also going to encourage you to explore NABE's new online learning portal, which Judy had made mention to before, where you can browse free instructional resources and earn a digital badge demonstrating your expertise directly from NABE. You can find more information on becoming a certified dual language leader online at nabe.readylxp.com. One last detail, NABE is currently offering 50% off of annual membership, so now's a great time to become a NABE member. On behalf of NABE, we want to thank all educators for their resiliency, their dedication, and their continuous efforts in supporting English learners everywhere. Count on us to continue to provide you with opportunities that will help you emerge from this a stronger educator and a leader. Thank you very much and enjoy your afternoon.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, guys.
Bye. Thank you. Thank you, guys.